time, it started recording before it actually did a ding. So there we go. Hello, everyone, for the recording. Today is October the 1st, 2020. Wes Fryer here at Casady School with our Google certification crew. And this is our third meeting, our second thematic little workshop or Genius Bar meeting, whatever we're calling it. We can't really call it a bar. There are no beverages here for the record. But today we're going to talk about Gmail tips and tricks, and kind of as the format from last time, I'm going to share with you some of my own tips that are not necessarily on the test or whatever, but they're stuff I find very useful. And some of these are kind of geeky that require, sort of like you're programming your smart home or something. Some with filters, you can make multiple things happen. But anyway, I'm going to share those, and then I'm going to share the links with the information to the 3 core skills that the Google teacher training website identifies for this test for level 1. And then I have prepared a 7-part activity suggestion, which I was thinking maybe we could just kind of tackle those, and I can just show those. And if you want to work along with me, or we could just have those up and you guys can work on them and ask questions. We can kind of decide how we want to handle that. Have any of you all ever heard of David Allen and GTD, getting things done? So like this may just be the thing, because sometimes if somebody recommends a book to you or could be a video, like it can change your life. So, and by the way, I need to preface all of this conversation about email by saying that I am extremely challenged by email. I have not really even a love-hate, a sort of tolerate-hate, relationship with email. I mentioned, I think last time, getting to unsubscribe from some of our lists at school has been really a joy for me. So I don't want to present myself as someone who has figured this all out and mastered email. I have struggled just mightily, and it continues to be a challenge. But 2 of the people who are really, I think, smarter than I am and more effective than I am with email, this fellow named David Allen, who has this whole philosophy in this book called Getting Things Done. And I actually have this book. I didn't bring it today, but that slide has links to it. And there's also a link here to this article. So if you don't want to get the book, you can just read this article. And this is updated for July of 2019. And so getting things done is a philosophy of being able to process your life. It's not just email. So it's about capturing your ideas and being able to put them in a trusted place, having some time to clarify your priorities, having time to organize and review, and then getting your work done. And then it combines with this thing called Inbox Zero. And have you all heard of that before? I had a friend I worked in UConn with. He kind of challenged me because he was an Inbox Zero guy. Every day he just got his inbox to 0, and I've never really been able to live that. But it's based on ideas that, of course, time is precious. 20-80 principle is that 20% of our email takes 80% of our time. Less is more with email, making them short, cutting out emotion, setting realistic expectations and priorities in terms of your accessibility and when people are going to be able to get back with you. And then there's a workflow. And this is really the key that they try to set up. So I kind of summarized it here in my own words. Number 1, don't use your inbox as a to-do list. And one of the things we'll talk about here is how Google has enhanced their tasks. And you can, this is a good skill for the test perhaps, how to take an email and make a to-do with it. And you can make it due for yourself at a certain day and time. And you can have it pop up a reminder. Oh yeah, I need to email, so-and-so about, our dinner plans or whatever it might be. Depending upon our schedules, we may or may not be able to do this very much, but they recommend that we have a fixed time for processing. And I don't know what your experience is with email, but sometimes, it's like the tyranny of the most recent and the top of the box. And so I'll sometimes sit down, and that's not a great way to process it, but I have found myself doing that. Ideally, you have a time where you're going to process it, and then there in the corner where it says delete, delegate, respond, defer, or do, I don't know. I said 60 seconds. So they may say 2 minutes, but if you can do it quickly, you do it and it's done. But if it's not, then you're going to have a place to put it I have an actionable folder. My challenge is when I put things in a folder, I have to be remembering to go back to that folder. And anyway, this is part of training our brains and how we're going to be efficient. But I'm not going to play the video. I thought about playing part of it. This is 13-year-old. This is a guy named Merlin Mann who gave a talk at Google called Inbox Zero. And it is really, really good. And he's summarizing the David Allen GTD philosophy. And it's basically, you don't want to live in your inbox, and you want to make things actionable. But it's crazy what's happened with email and how, I don't know, he tells the story of his first email account. And I put the AOL icon there because, it was this time where it was magical because it was the way you instantaneously communicated across the country and the world. And it was really amazing. But now it's become this common denominator, and organizations like ours, I personally feel, are very challenged by the degree to which we have rules or don't have rules in terms of email and the rules of engagement and all these things. It's very super challenging. But those may be the best recommendations I'll have today. I'm not, again, a complete disciple of this philosophy, but I have moved all the messages at different times of my life from my inbox into a label, which is like a folder, and then gone back to process them. But the relief that can actually come from not having a box with thousands sometimes of messages, it really is something. And then there's a real cognitive load that happens with all those messages. Jonas?
It is my strong impression that if it's older than a month or two, there's virtually no reason to keep it there, and it should be deleted.
Right.
Do you agree?
Right. The fact that Google will keep them for you, and I have tons of things saved, I would mostly agree with that. And one of the actual challenges that I have for the task, I'll show you, because Google, of course, as we've said, started as and is primarily a search company, and they're an advertising company, but their search, we can very readily search our inbox for every unread message over 1 month old, 2 months old, 3 months old, whatever. And then we can do bulk process that. You can move it into a folder. What I have tended to do rather than just click the delete key, because, oh man, I can't take this call again. I'll have to call him back. This is Eric Gebert calling me. He was doing very well in Tampa, by the way. Yeah, he's very, very happy with where he is and what he's doing. I have had this happen multiple times where it's that one email that I've missed or whatever. And, this is just something tough that sometimes happens as people will zip this thing off. And if those people happen to be like the head of school or whatever, I'll show you. I've set up some alerts and some ways for me to try to not miss, their email. But I end up moving them into a label, so they're out of my inbox. But I could definitely, click the delete key, and the possibility is there to be able to do. But it's I think I might have mentioned it last time. It's sort of almost like a Alcoholics Anonymous or something confession time. If we were going to be all, okay, how many messages do you have in your inbox today? And then I've got my personal as well as my school. So
have you seen the joke? There's two kinds of people in the world when it comes to email, and it's like the people, and it's just a notification, and it's like 5 emails, and then the other one is like 20,000 plus.
Yeah. Yes.
And my husband is on like the 5, and I'm like on the 20.
Right. I think a lot of teachers are probably on the side of lots versus few. And I think, I'm glad we're doing this one. We need to be helping to train people on strategies for this. This is a basic job expectation, but it was one of these things like mission creep that has just grown and grown and grown, and it can truly be a monster that can eat your life. So, in addition to that book and that video, adding the asterisk to labels, and I do this in Google Drive as well, that just moves it right to the top. So I have a few things that I don't want to scroll through to get to. And so I have made a folder, and this is not something I'm doing wonderfully today, but I've called it actionable with this idea of processing it. I want to do something with it, but it takes more than 2 minutes. So I just move that into the actionable folder, and then hopefully I'll go back to that and I'll do it. I also, have automatic filters that'll put things in. But that is a nice tip that not only works in Gmail for labels, it also works in Google Drive and in some other places too, because it's alphabetizing them, but the asterisk, moves it up to the top.
Does that take precedence over numbers?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so, yeah. Next tip is to use the Gmail app, not Apple Mail. There are good features that you get in Gmail now that are artificial intelligence related, which we were kind of talking a little bit about before we started, like smart replies, and I find myself being able to use those sometimes, which are just, suggestions based on the context of the email. The second one here where it says a powerful security filter is really important. We're about to have elections again. You may remember that this guy named John Podesta had his email hacked. This guy named Colin Powell, like really smart people have had their email compromised. And phishing with a PH is a really big deal. I did actually, as tech director my last year, file a police report with the village for someone who over spring break attempted to change one of our staff members' direct deposits, using an address in Utah at a Motel 6, and had emailed our business office. And thankfully that didn't happen. But, social engineering, trying to trick us, trying to get us to do things, trying to get us to click on things which may install bad stuff on our system or seem like it's, Google, and we log in and we give our credentials. All that stuff is big and just getting bigger and bigger. Ransomware. I read an article that the 5 biggest shipping companies in the world now have all been hit by these major ransomware attacks. And a woman died in Germany, I think 2 weeks ago, who couldn't go to the nearest hospital because they were under ransomware attack and they were locked down. And anyway, it's a big thing.
What happened to Garmin? And my understanding is they've been quiet about it, but that they paid it.
Well, and that's the thing people do. Oklahoma City got hit by it the year before this in May, right as school was about to wrap up, grades were going in, So anyway, security features, and then I don't know if you knew this, but 5 seconds to undo your send. That used to be a little extension like Google Lab that you had to put on. But if you are using your phone and you're using the Gmail app, it doesn't go right away. It actually waits 5 seconds, so you can undo it if you need to.
They have the other thing too, because I didn't see it up there, with the app, you can program your swipes. So you can do whatever you want. So like one of mine is to just automatically delete. The other one is to archive.
Nice. And there used to be a little experiment that they had called Inbox or something. It was blue, but it was that kind of thing, trying to experiment. I think they integrated some of it. There's also now a separate tasks app. So we're going to talk about making a task from Gmail. And so that's something else that you can download and have for your phone. Do any of you use keyboard shortcuts for Gmail?
I had no idea they existed.
Okay, this is probably not a test question. I don't know if it is going to be, but really helpful. You have to turn them on in settings. But if you go into your Gmail settings, so you're in Gmail and you go up to the upper right corner, you click on the wheel or whatever, the gear thing in the corner, and you say show all settings. Scroll down. It's on that first page of general. I happen to take the screenshot to show stars. That is a good thing to know that's actually in the teacher training, is using that to be able to show different kinds of priorities. You just drag, there's all these choices. And so I only have yellow star, blue star, green check mark, and red box with exclamation point. But you can move any of those into sort of play. And then you can also, yes. And then you can also filter. So as we talk about filters.
I didn't catch what she's going on, but I was still kind of like, oh.
So you could have it be like a key in terms of priority. So like I think the star, the one gold star is a default.
Right.
Because I've used that before.
That's what I
But
heard.
like, I'm assuming that Wes is using the green one to say like, oh, I've done that. There's a task in there that I've completed. And then the exclamation point is like, this is really important, or this needs my attention.
But
So you
these are a way of categorizing emails?
Yes, yeah.
But
It's,
so that when you look at your inbox, you can quickly see this.
Yes.
If you don't have to open up the email, you just know like, oh, I've got these 3 exclamation point ones. I need to go do them.
and one of the important skills that I'm going to teach and talk about that is definitely in the Teacher Center, got to do this one, is the filter. And that's when you want things to happen as they come in. So you could have messages that say, I don't know, any message that says Casady or any message that said parent or whatever. I mean, it could have a gold star or a green star or something. And, honestly, that has not become a big part of my workflow. I've added those and thought, ooh, that sounds interesting. What I've tended to do more is that actionable folder, and then definitely using keyboard shortcuts.
So it'll read.
The school's calling me. Who would that be? Hang on. Hello, this is Wes. Yes. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah, no, I'm 110. Well, maybe they still. Yeah, maybe. Okay, they may still have that forward on. So, all right. Okay, no problem. All right. All right, no problem. Bye. I'll try 170 actually. I think 170 rings either Kim or Jeremy. Yep. Okay. All right. Sorry about that. I don't get called by the school very often. So anyway, yeah, keyboard shortcuts, turn them on. Once you've turned them on, then you can press the question mark. So shift / and all of these things will pop up. Now, this is overwhelming. I only use about 4 or 5. This is also the kind of thing like, are you sort of that person? What were you saying earlier? Like, are you the person with like 5 emails or 1,000? Are you a person who likes to use keyboard shortcuts? Or are you just a mouse person? You don't like to do that. I have found that learning the navigation ones of how to move up and down, how to delete and archive, those are the ones that I use. And I probably am going to have my fingers on the keyboard to be able to do those. Okay, so.
Can you have it do the filter, and can I essentially tell Google I don't want it to read my messages?
No. But when we're education, yeah, when we're education, it's not. That's a good question as far as teachers and students, but they don't harvest and market to the G Suite education accounts the same as a consumer. Your consumer account is subject to a different like user agreement and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so anyway, that's just a tip. Next thing, this is my geekiest one. Did you know you can forward messages to your cell phone? So what you do, and I have this is a filter that I have. So this is actually when when people fill out a form and I'm emailed by the form, it applies a label to put it in the box. It forwards it to my cell phone number. It never sends it to spam. It always marks it as important. And I think I probably still have this set up if Nathan emails me. This happens. And the way this works is each cellular provider has a different, called a gateway address. So for instance, I'm T-Mobile, and so that's at tmomail.net. And so I just put my 9-digit phone number or whatever. Is that right? Is that 9 digits? How much is the phone number?
3, 4, 10.
10.
Because area code and then 10. Yes.
Okay. So you put your whole thing, your whole number without dashes or whatever, just numbers. And then that number is that, anything that's sent to that comes to your phone as a text message. Cool. You have to add that account as a forwarding address, and there's a verification process. So you put it in, it sends a message to you, and you say, oh yes, that code was, 4-digit code or 6-digit code. But then you can do that. So anyway, that may or may not be helpful, but having to manage without a assistant for 4 years, a lot of email. When I had those critical people emailing me, I didn't want to miss their message. And so it was good to have that pop up. And then this is my last one. I just have this on my personal, and I pay for this. I think I pay I don't know. I should look it up to see actually how much it is. It's an annual thing, but it's called SaneBox. And actually, I'll just play this because this is a totally uncompensated advertisement.
Where did all the emails go? Don't worry, they're safe in your new Same Later folder. Same Later is where unimportant emails will go from now on, leaving only important messages in your inbox. It's important to check your Same Later folder once or twice a day, especially in the beginning. This way you can delete unimportant emails all at once. You can also train SaneBox. See something in Same Later that belongs in your inbox or vice versa? No problem. Just move the email to the correct location and SaneBox will send all future emails from that sender to the right place. We'll also send you an email digest each day with a summary of the new email in your Sane Later folder. You can delete, unsubscribe, and trade email to the inbox right from the digest. One last thing, if you had more than 5,000 emails in your inbox when you sign up, SaneBox will automatically create a folder called Sane Archive for your oldest emails. It's just a folder to store old messages. It will never leave your email server. So there you have it, a basic intro to your new email sanity.
Now we can basically do all those things ourselves with filters and setting things up. But anyway, my personal email just became so out of control that I've done that for a while. And now I try to do those similar kinds of things, unsubscribing to messages. Gmail is better itself at moving things that are from lists and social and that kind of stuff, because, it's just crazy how much email you can quickly get. And I'm teaching fifth graders who just had an account for a few months, and they're already, just getting tons of notifications and all that kind of stuff.
So you go to settings to unsubscribe?
So to unsubscribe from a message?
Yep.
That's a great question. So what I'm going to do in the spirit of confidentiality and all this, I'm going to use this student email or student account, which I use, and I was talking to Jonas about this. Sometimes I'll have this join my Google Classroom, and I can, if you all are interested in using it, I can give you guys the password for it as well. It's just nice to see a student view, but in this case, I don't want to share any confidential names or emails or whatever. So I'm going to use this as my demo account. If you do, to the question, have an email that you never want to see again, when you click over here in the three bars, the hot dog or whatever you want to call that, you have different choices about what you want to do with it, rather than just delete it. And this is kind of what that SaneBox thing is kind of doing in bulk. If it is spam, you can report it here, and the benefit is that makes the system smarter. So when an email that matches that profile and fingerprint or whatever they call that from that sender, IP address, whatever, if it's phishing, somebody trying to get your information maliciously, I definitely encourage you to use that. And you can also choose to filter the message. And actually, I'll jump to that right now, because this is probably the most important skill that I know is testable. It's in the Teacher Center, and it is something that is you want to know how to do this anyway, but this is something for certification that you want. You select filter messages like this, and this is a two-part screen, where the first part is what characteristics of this message do you want me to look for in the future? And when I find those things, what do you want me to do with it? So it's like if this, then that, if you've heard of that. That's a Internet of Things home automation. Like I have the driveway lights go on at sundown, and they turn off at sunrise. And I use that system to do it. It is called, have you all heard of this before? This is a geeky aside. It's called If This Then That. So you set up recipes, and you can have all kinds of fun things happen with your. Yeah, it is. It's actually conditional programming, because you're saying, I want in this condition, then do this.
If you meet this condition,
Yep.
then this will happen. And
Definitely.
then you can change them.
Definitely. So when I pull up the email to filter, right now it is just giving. This was a Google Classroom notification. It says it's from this address. If
when I pull up the filter, Wes, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, it's good.
How did you do it?
Okay, so when I'm on a message, so you can open up any message, I'm over on the right-hand side underneath the print and the open in other window. It is the three dots, it's like the hot dog or whatever. That's the one that's going to give you all these choices. And so now I'm going to choose the filter option, filter messages like these. Maybe? I don't see it either.
Did you have to scroll down? No, when you had are there more options? Oh, no, go back to the three dots. Are there, oh, no. I was gonna say, are there more options?
Yeah, because I'm doing that over here, and it's saying filter messages like the chapel and lunch rotation. And Black Joanne and Patino, probably not.
Well, right, and that would be one that you
Joanne,
can
I
do
didn't
as well.
understand.
Why? Okay, that's how I thought I just pulled that up. Did I?
Yeah, I see mine right underneath forward. When you click on that and then, click on the three dots.
Okay.
And then right under forward, I have that option.
You have the one that says filter?
Filter messages.
I wonder if it's because I just brought that up. Do I still
You
have
have
that
it.
open maybe?
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Because are you seeing that or not? I'm just gonna open up a new one.
There it is.
There it is. It must have been something about I had opened it previously.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Block is also there. So yeah, if it's definitely a spam, well, if it's somebody, a person at school that you would want to hear from, or an individual, whatever, that they're not necessarily a spammer, like a commercial spammer. But if that's a contact that you don't want to hear from again, then you have them on your own block list. Okay, so filter messages like this. It automatically puts the email in, but you can put any series of search terms. And one of the things I'll go over are the search query, the syntax for searching an email, which is really powerful. Some of these are checkboxes. Like if you always want to have things that have an attachment, going into a particular folder, if a file is bigger or less than, if it has the words parent in it, that would not just be in the subject line, by the way. If you put it in subject, that's only going to look for emails that have a subject of parent. But if you say have the words, that's anywhere in the body, anywhere in the subject.
So that would be like something from John Powell about parent-teacher conferences.
Right. Yeah. Every single thing that has that word in should turn up. So you can also do a list. So let's say, and for the purposes of the recording, actually we have some restricted lists, but we have some other lists that aren't, in terms of who can. Generally, you have to be a member of them. But we have mailing lists for our divisions, right? So I could type 2 and then the upper division mailing list address. And then every time I'm getting somebody sending to that list, I can have this thing happen to it. So I'm going to go ahead and just use the word parent. I'll try that. Or maybe I'm going to use the word do, because I've got a lot of Google notifications, and then there's a lot of things that say do. So I'm going to click create filter. And then these are all the choices of what I can have happen. For instance, if I wanted, and I do this like with the tickets of IT, we have all these different tickets. I do not want those to be in my inbox. You could do this with Google Classroom as well. I mean, some people like to get those when kids are turning stuff in, but it can be overwhelming as well. The filter lets you set up a basically robot. It's a program that is going to process your messages constantly. So whenever you get, in this case, a message that had the word parent or a message that said Google Classroom, I could say, I want to make a label. Actually, maybe I'm going to do that. So I'm going to click back, and I need to look at the messages to see what it says in here. So it says Wesley Fryer Classroom. Clicking all over the place. I'm just going to say the word. I'm going to say the word classroom because all these messages from Google have parentheses, classroom. We'll see if this works. When I click create filter,
you could do Julian. You could do no reply and Google, and the likelihood that you're going to have a non-Google Classroom email with those is slim, I think.
This is where, and when you're experimenting and putting things in, usually it's going to show you how many you have. But this is where I could do something like I could just delete it. If I could apply a label, and I could say create a new label, Google Classroom notifications, create. And if there's anything else I want to do, you can do multiple things. This is where if I said apply to matching conversations, you can, the first time you do this, do a search and find out, yeah, that works. Okay, those are all Google Classroom notifications. So that tells you, did my search work? Am I getting a result? Clicking all over the place. Okay, so let me set that up. Filter messages like this. I want to say, if it includes the word classroom in parentheses, and I say create a filter, I want you to apply the label, Google Classroom Messages, and I want you to skip the inbox. Archive. So this is going to take every single one of those suckers out of my inbox, but it's not gone. I can go back to it, but it's going to be over here in this place. So mailing.
Mark them as red or?
It won't. I mean, I could, if I check the box, I could mark it as red, but I usually don't do that. I'll just leave it. This is wonderful for mailing lists because if you're on a listserv or some kind of mailing list from a group, you're going to want to look at that, but not necessarily as they come in. So this is, I would say, the number one skill that we probably don't all utilize to its full potential. That is a part of the Google certification exam and really has a lot of ways that it can be applied as far as lowering the quantity that's in your inbox. But again, not just deleting it and getting rid of it, but moving it so it's in a place where you can go to it if and when you want to, or when you need to search your box, like if it's from a parent, it's there, but it's not in my inbox. You want to be careful because this can, take stuff off of your radar screen because it's not in my inbox now. So just like it was talking about in that little video, as you're initially, getting going with this, you might, check your other folders. But okay, so I'll go ahead and create the filter. So now, whenever I get a new message coming in, it's going to do that. You can get to your filters by clicking on your settings. So up here in the upper right corner of my Gmail, I've got my settings box. And they've changed this a little bit here. You can decide the density of how you want to see your messages, default, comfortable, or compact. And you also have themes. And this is interesting. You can choose to put what Google's AI thinks is important first. You can put unread first, and you can create this thing called a priority inbox. And then they've got these things with reading panes and stuff like that. It's really kind of nice, and this is a recent change, that they've put all of that here right as it pops up. It used to be not quite as easy to get to that. My favorite feature is on by default, and that's called email threading. That's the conversation view that every message. You remember using email programs that didn't do that, where every reply was a separate message and they weren't threaded. When you click See All Settings, this is general. And so if you scroll down, you'll start to see the stars and all that. This is where you turn the keyboard shortcuts on and off. Here at the top, it says Filters and Blocked Addresses. And so this is where the filters that you've created go. I'm going to open this one and continue it. Why does it say apply to 0? I don't know. Maybe I didn't.
Well, because you already did that.
Yeah.
Right? So
I don't know.
all those other ones, so there's no need to.
I had created one before that moved my new assignments in here, but I don't know that my syntax of that one is necessarily correct because I don't know. I should be able to process that out.
Well, when you set it up, I think you moved the classroom where the word classroom was.
Okay, and I moved it to a different place.
You did.
Okay, so I'm going to settings and filters, and I'm gonna edit. Oh, that's right. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So now continue, and it should, if I apply to existing. Look at that. I now have 17 messages and I had 200. Yay. All right. It's actually a good thing to show students too. I mean, it's this little bit of programming. It's kind of coding. You're not writing code, but you are applying an algorithm to say, I want this to happen. And like I said, I showed you SaneBox, and I think you can activate SaneBox, I think, for a Google Education account or an enterprise account. I just have it on my personal. But you can do very similar things using filters that will help you, reduce the number of messages in your inbox. And like in this case, look at that. I've got a folder called Google Classroom, and there's 358 messages. They're all there, and the ones that I didn't open are unread, but they're not clogging my inbox. So that is probably the number one thing that I would encourage you, if you're not doing already, to play with and then think about what kinds of messages well, just what things do I want to delete? Because that's part of this, is like unsubscribing to lists and getting stuff out. And then are there things that I really don't need to have in my inbox, but I would still like to have? And you can put an asterisk if you want it to come up to the top. I have a crazy amount of labels in my regular account. Like I said, this is just a test account that we use. Okay.
When it says has the words, does that include in the to, from, and subject line, or is that only in the body of the email?
I think that's just in the subject and the body. I don't think it's the to and the from, but I'm not positive. You can also, though, use the different kinds of search query like quotes, and so that'll be the exact phrase. And so all of that kind of syntax works there. All right, in terms of Google and the Teacher Center, if you would like to do a little training on your own, and I would encourage you to, and because I'm going to do this as well, taking this in little bites. There's so much, and so as we have a little theme, if you want to do that part of the teacher training, the website teachercenter.withgoogle.com is where this training is. And so the unit 4 is called Save Time Communicating. And I've given you the direct link to it. It not only talks about Gmail, it also talks about Google Sites and Groups, the Learning Center, and Hangouts. And the skills that it wants us to have is to use Gmail to communicate with our classroom community, organize and search Gmail to save time. Those are really the 2 Gmail things. And then it talks about using Google Chat. I don't want to use Google Chat, but you need to know it's there for the test. Using Google Groups to build better classroom community. I'm using Google Classroom. I'm not using groups with my kids, but we're using our group here with our certification group. And if you want to, you could make a math group, or you could, make a, we could make a barbecue smoking meat. We said if we were doing the immersion days, we have to do barbecue smoking. So I know Blake Pardue and a few other people are into that. Anyway, we have the ability to create groups, and you could do that for class if you wanted. And you need to know that for the test, that you can create these groups and how you set those up. And then sharing your students' work with a Google site. Those are the things that it identifies in this unit. These are the specific skills that the Teacher Center will teach us how to do. And 3 of them are email. And I've already done what I think is the most important one. And I've given you direct links here. That's why the little icons here are blue. Creating a priority inbox, applying Gmail filters, and then searching efficiently. The priority inbox actually, I think, is now a setting that you just do. Like when we click settings here, that's where it is. And you can customize it. It's using AI to try to identify what it thinks is most important, which is kind of cool. And so that is probably a likely question for the test. And thankfully, it's not super complicated. We've gone through filters. Let's talk a little bit about the Gmail search operators. And then I'll show you these practice activities, and maybe you can tell me which ones we want to do, and we can go through those or whatever. I think I have kind of a hard stop at 5, which I probably need to text my wife to remind her to come pick me up here in a little bit. So let's talk about search operators. I've given you a direct link to this help page that says search operators, and there are so many of these, show me of course, if you put somebody's address in, but you can say, let me see the messages I sent to this address. Let me see all the messages that I blind carbon copied to our head of school, just by putting BCC and their email. You can remove certain results, but I use has attachment sometimes to find. Let's see. Let's just skip to the quiz. So for the skill practice, as an example, and you can do this one if you want, I put search for unread messages in your Gmail account that are older than 3 months. Delete the messages you don't need. So this search operators page, and this is also a good Gmail technique. When I'm on a page and I want to find some text, on a Mac, I'd hold down Command. If I'm on a PC or a Chromebook, I use Control. So Command F, and I can put like a word, older, and here it's on there twice. There it is. So you can put in the word older, and you can have a date, but you can also say older underscore than colon and say something like 3M, 3 months,
Okay.
or 2
And then
weeks.
how will that give you just the unread messages? How do you filter by unread?
So the second thing, by separating it with a space,
Okay.
is to use is unread. And they're not going to, like, this is a little bit like formulas, right? I mean, spreadsheet formulas, we're going to look these things up. And by the way, on the test, you get to use Google. So you can look things up as you need to. It is like recording your webcam and seeing your keystrokes and all that, but you're able to look stuff up during the test. So this is where it's also nice to just know, okay, yeah, that's a search operator. Okay, let me just find the search operators. And so anyway, let's do this one. We're gonna go to Gmail and we're gonna put in older underscore than 3M and then is unread. So I'm gonna switch over to this student account. And at the top, I'm gonna type older underscore than colon 3M. I'll just do that search, okay? So here's all the messages in my account that are older than 3 months. And you can make this a more complicated search by simply putting in a space and then doing something else. Now this is interesting. As I type the word is, it proposes for me unread, read. I can have a label in there. So there's all of my unread messages that are older than 3 months. Now, to Jonas's point, I probably don't need any of these messages. And so rather than processing them, even if I have a keyboard shortcut and I know this fancy way, I can bulk process all of these messages at once. In fact, this is the way when I changed my positions a year and a half ago. I just took all the email that I still had in my box and I moved it into a different label called, old stuff or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The way that you do this is you have boxes here to the side of your messages. However, at the top of all the boxes is this powerful select box. Okay, it's like the Ginsu knife, but there's more. Get the steamer too. So I'm going to choose that box, but maybe that's going to get them all. Usually, okay, it says 1 through 50 of many. Usually there's another box there that's going to let me do even more than that. So now I can process all of these that are visible. I thought it was going to show me more than this. Let's talk about these icons. Okay, this is something else that's a little bit different, and Google has different labels for these. Archive means take it out of the inbox. Take the label inbox away, because when it's in your inbox, it literally is just a message that has the label inbox. And by default, the first thing Google shows you is your inbox labeled messages. So that would, just take everything out of my inbox. Report spam. I could do that for all those messages. I can go ahead and trash them. I can mark them as read. I can snooze them. That's a new thing. And then let's look at this one, because this is definitely a skill I wanted to talk about. Add to tasks. Now, you're probably not going to want to do this for multiple messages, but that is really nice, because if you would like to have an alert that's a reminder that's going to tell you at a specific time or whatever, you need to deal with this email. I don't have time to do that now, that training. And then these would move it to inbox, move to labels, and then you can also apply these other things, filtering it, muting it, whatever. Okay, so let's do a to-do. Here's an email I have from Duolingo. Oh, lovely. I'd like to check that out, but let's do that next week. I can select add to tasks, either when I am out here with the box selected. Yep, go ahead.
Oh, I don't have all of the same options at the top of my inbox as you do.
Select a message.
Oh, so, okay.
Yep. Once you select a message, it'll give it to you. So you can either select a message in this inbox view, or if you've selected the message itself, it has those. So what we want to do basically is just pick one message. And I'm going to choose that label that has the circle and the check mark, add to tasks. And now on my sidebar, welcome to tasks. Get started. And this is relatively new integration that they've put, so it's right here with Gmail. And so this is now a task, and I didn't have any tasks on this account because this is a test account. But right now it's just a task. It doesn't have any date. It doesn't have any time. But I can click on the pencil beside it and add some things, like add a date and time. Oh, great. Let's put tomorrow, so Friday, and set a time, 8:30 a.m.
This is where you're actually creating a to-do list?
Yes, and I'm doing it right from inside
Oh.
the Gmail.
No, it's
Right
funny,
now.
because I did it sort of clunkily by going to Google Calendar and actually making.
Okay.
This is better.
Because this can actually, depending upon your view, I think you can actually view your reminders in your Google Calendar. It's a calendar that you have. So yeah, I think it's nice. They're continuing to always work on these hacks that are going to help people be more productive and, deal with their messages in their mail. And so that is a relatively new thing to say, I want to create a task from email, and then you can add a date and a time to it. If you wanted to, you could add subtasks to it. I haven't ever really gotten that detailed, but that's cool. And so now that is available here in the sidebar for my tasks. I think, yes, over here on the right side, that's what these icons are. So you've got a shortcut to your calendar, a shortcut to Google Keep, which is kind of like Evernote. It's for note keeping, but Google, keeps it in their cloud. And then the blue circle, the check mark, is for tasks. And so I can just see my task. I have not been using the app, but I've considered it. I've also played with lots of different things, and honestly, I'm a mess. And I have, written notes and email, and I've never just found this one system that's fantastic. But
these tasks, do you have to access them through Gmail, or is that another app?
There's
system?
now an app. Yeah, there's an app for that. So you can have download the Google Tasks app, and it will
Okay.
just show you your
Okay.
tasks, and it's integrated, with your
Because
calendar.
it's in the cloud. If you update one on one location,
Mhm.
it goes on the other.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yep. And so now I will open up my calendar for this student account. And I am pretty sure that, yes, look at this. I have a calendar for my reminders. So look at that. I have a reminder for tomorrow at 8:30, and it has these fancy icons, but that's what was made from my email by making that task. Okay. So that kind of covers the, categories of what Google says. Let's look at these real quick, and then tell me if there's, which one of these we want to dive into. We've already done some of these. First one just says, attach a recent Google presentation to an email and send it, to this address. Have you all used the buttons at the bottom to attach Google documents? I have one, yes, but not all. So that's nice because it uses, I don't know, you can get the link, but it sort of embeds it there and puts it down at the bottom. Being familiar with the buttons at the bottom is a good thing. Okay, so again, this is a new message, and so I've got formatting options for my text. I've got file attachments. I've got links. I can do emojis, and then I can also insert my Google files. I've taken a little more to animated GIFs lately, and so you can have an inline animated GIF that somebody doesn't have to click on. It's just right there. And you can insert that by using this insert photo. So as an example, I've got a folder on my computer called Desktop Stuff and Animated GIFs. So let's get the John Wayne GIF, which I think I've used for my men's group. There you go. So isn't that cool? So that's just right there in the email. A little frivolous, but it's fun. And not everybody knows that you can have that right there in the message. And that's how you do it. You go to the very bottom, click on insert photo, and you can upload it. So I've started to have a folder of animated GIFs that I sometimes will send to people, and sometimes.
I haven't used a PC in a while, but Macs will let you generally just drag and drop in there.
I think you can do that too. Yeah.
And to the point where, let's say I have a picture open, right? So how the default picture viewer
Right.
has the little icon at the top of the window. If you click on that icon and drag it and drop it in, it will attach it right there in the email, which is super neat.
Yes, absolutely. And being able to do that from the Finder and it's a great thing.